coffee and added cream and sugar. But he couldn't get it close enough to taste it. It smelled as if it had been boiling 3 weeks in a rancid pot. It was the smell of coffee, all right, but a smell that was fiendishly distorted, overpoweringly, nauseatingly magnified. It pervaded the room and burned his throat and brought tears gushing to his eyes. Slowly, realization began to dawn. He spilled the coffee as he set the cup down. The perfume, the coffee, the cigarette. "My hat," he choked. "Get me my hat. I've got to get to the laboratory." It got worse all the way downtown. He fought down waves of nausea as the smell of damp, rotting earth rose from his front yard in a gray cloud. The neighbor's dog dashed out to greet him, exuding the great-grandfather of all doggy odors. As Philip waited for the bus, every passing car fouled the air with noxious fumes, gagging him, doubling him up with coughing as he dabbed at his streaming eyes. Nobody else seemed to notice anything wrong at all. The bus ride was a nightmare. It was a damp, rainy day. The inside of the bus smelled like a men's locker room after a big game. A bleary-eyed man with 3 days' stubble on his chin flopped down in the seat next to him, and Philip reeled back with a jolt to the job he held in his student days, cleaning vats in the brewery. "It's a great morning," Bleary Eyes breathed at him. "Huh, Doc?" Philip blanched. To top it, the man had had a breakfast of salami. In the seat ahead, a fat man held a dead cigar clamped in his mouth like a rank growth. Philip's stomach began rolling. He sank his face into his hand, trying unobtrusively to clamp his nostrils. With a groan of deliverance, he lurched off the bus at the laboratory gate. He met Jake Miles coming up the steps. Jake looked pale, too pale. "Morning," Philip said weakly. "Nice day. Looks like the sun might come through." "Yeah," said Jake. "Nice day. You, feel all right this morning?" "Fine, fine." Philip tossed his hat in the closet, opened the incubator on his culture tubes, trying to look busy. He slammed the door after one whiff and gripped the edge of the work table with whitening knuckles. "Why?" "Oh, nothing. Thought you looked a little peaked was all." They stared at each other in silence. Then, as though by signal, their eyes turned to the office at the end of the lab. "Coffin in yet?" Jake nodded. "He's in there. He's got the door locked." "I think he's going to have to open it," said Philip. A gray-faced Dr. Coffin unlocked the door, backed quickly toward the wall. The room reeked of kitchen deodorant. "Stay right where you are," Coffin squeaked. "Don't come a step closer. I can't see you now. I'm busy. I've got work that has to be done." "You're telling me," growled Philip. He motioned Jake into the office and locked the door carefully. And then he turned to Coffin. "When did it start for you?" Coffin was trembling. "Right after supper last night. I thought I was going to suffocate. Got up, walked the streets all night. My God, what a stench!" "Jake?" Dr. Miles shook his head. "Sometime this morning. I don't know when. I woke up with it." "That's when it hit me," said Philip. "But I don't understand," Coffin howled. "Nobody else seems to notice anything." "Yet," said Philip. "We were the first 3 to take the Coffin cure. Remember? You and me and Jake, 2 months ago." Coffin's forehead was beaded with sweat. He stared at the 2 men of growing horror. "But what about the others?" he whispered. "I think," said Philip, "that we better find something spectacular to do in a mighty big hurry. That's what I think." Jake Miles said, "The most important thing right now is secrecy. We mustn't let a word get out, not until we're absolutely certain." But what's happened?" Coffin cried. "These foul smells everywhere. You, Philip, you had a cigarette this morning. I can smell it clear over here, and it's bringing tears to my eyes. And if I didn't know better, I'd swear neither of you have had a bath in a week. Every odor in town has suddenly turned foul." "Magnified, you mean," said Jake. "Perfume still smells sweet. There's just too much of it. The same with cinnamon. I tried it, cried for half an hour, but it still smelled like cinnamon. No, I don't think the smells have changed any." "But what then?" "Our noses have changed, obviously." Jake paced the floor in excitement. "Look at our dogs. They've never had colds, and they practically live by their noses. Other animals all depended on their senses of smell for survival, and none of them ever have anything even vaguely reminiscent of a common cold. The multicentric virus hits primates only, and it reaches its fullest parasitic powers in man alone." Coffin shook his head miserably. "But why this horrible stench of all of a sudden? I haven't had a cold in weeks." "Of course not. That's just what I'm trying to say," Jake cried. "Look, why do we have any sense of smell at all? Because we have tiny olfactory nerve endings buried in the mucous membrane of our noses and throats. But we have always had the virus living there too, colds or no colds, throughout our entire lifetime. It's always been there, anchored in the same cells, parasitizing the same sensitive tissues that carry our olfactory nerve endings, numbing them and crippling them, making them practically useless as sensory organs. No wonder we never smelled anything before. Those poor little nerve endings never had a chance." "Until we came along in our shining armor and destroyed the virus," said Phillips. "Oh, we didn't destroy it. We merely stripped it of a very slippery protective mechanism against normal body defenses." Jake perched on the edge of the desk, his dark face intense. "These 2 months since we had our shots have witnessed a battle to the death between our bodies and the virus. With the help of the vaccine, our bodies have won. That's all. Stripped away the last vestiges of an invader that has been almost a part of our normal physiology since the beginning of time. And now, for the first time, those crippled little nerve endings are just beginning to function." "Oh, God help us," Coffin groaned. "You think it'll get worse?" "And worse, and still worse," said Jake. "I wonder," said Philip slowly, "what the anthropologists will say." "What do you mean?" "Maybe it was just a single mutation somewhere back there, a tiny change of cell structure or metabolism that left one line of primates vulnerable to an invader no other would harbor. Why else should man have to flower and blossom intellectually, grow to depend so much on his brains instead of his brawn that he could rise above all others? What better reason than because somewhere along the line in the world of fang and claw he suddenly lost his sense of smell?" They stared at each other. "Well, he's got it back now," Coffin wailed, "and he's not going to like it a bit." "No, he surely isn't," Jake agreed. "He's going to start looking very quickly for someone to blame, I think." They both looked at Coffin. "Now, don't be ridiculous, boys," said Coffin, turning white. "We're in this together. Philip, it was your idea in the first place. You said so yourself. You can't leave me now." The telephone jangled. They heard the frightened voice of the secretary clear across the room. "Dr. Coffin, there was a student on the line just a moment ago. He said he was coming up to see you. Now, he said. Not later." "Why, I'm busy," Coffin sputtered. I can't see anyone, and I can't take any calls." "But he's already on his way up," the girl burst out. "He was saying something about tearing you apart with his bare hands." Coffin slammed down the receiver. His face was the color of lead. "They'll crucify me," he sobbed. "Jake, Philip, You've got to help me." Philip sighed.